Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to Japan once again, and it feels like a little while actually since I last reviewed a beer from Japan actually, although it was only just in the summer. But this is yet another one of the ones that I brought back with me from my recent trip over there. And this is a brewery that I've known about for quite a bit of time, but I've never been able to do a review from them because I've just never seen any of their cans or bottles or anything like that. So for the first time we are going to go to Nagoya and we're having a taste of my very first beer from Y Market Brewing, and these guys do have a pretty damn good reputation these days. This beer is the Hop Seduction, which is a session IPA coming in at 4.5% ABV. So this is another beer that I picked up from Liquor Shop Asahiya at Taishibashi Maichi in Osaka. Big shout out to Rika and Koji who run the shop, family business of course. He's my Osaka beer dealer, and when I tell him that I'm going out there he always keeps a few good things aside for me to review. So a big thank you to him once again for making this review possible. I'll put their Facebook page in the description for you below, so keep an eye out on that and you'll get some really interesting things about the Japanese beer scene as well. But very much looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Y Market Brewing. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media in there. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Y Market Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So as I mentioned a minute ago, Y Market Brewing are based in Nagoya, and it's part of the same parent company that owns Okadaya Liquors, and both of these companies together are run by Yasuhiro Yamamoto. So basically, Y Market Brewing started out with a small brew house in the Yanagibashi market, hence the name Y Market Brewing. And this whole market was basically composed of food and drink wholesale businesses that supplied various restaurants and bars throughout Nagoya City. So they hired Kachi Makoto as their head brewer, and he previously worked for Kisoji Beer in southern Nagano, which is where he's from. And he'd got into home brewing a number of years previously, having discovered craft beer in Montreal, initially when he was over there studying, but then he decided to work, and so he had extra money to spend on craft beer, and because of that he started to get into home brewing. But these guys opened up their brew pub in March of 2014, which is on the second floor of their brewery, and they started out with a 1,000 litre brewing system that Kachi designed himself. Over the last few years they've been gradually building up their market and brewing capacity and stuff like this as well, and developing new beers, and according to Untappd they've produced over 200 different types of beers, and if memory serves me correctly that would make these guys perhaps the most prolific of, or one of the most prolific at least, of the Japanese craft brewers. And there's around 300 or so craft brewers in Japan. Some of them you'll never come across outside of their own region and things like that. That's one of the big problems with Japan actually. They don't have such a good distribution system, which is very strange for a country that is so technologically advanced and things like this. But the their distribution system is just not quite as advanced as you think. So you won't find beers outside of like one or two shops in the local town or whatever. It's crazy actually. But these guys I think definitely are one of the more prolific Japanese craft beer brewers at the moment, and they do seem to be getting their beers out there a little bit more actually. So yeah, impressive number of beers from these guys, and hopefully I can review more of their beers in the future. I'm sure I'll keep an eye on these guys now that they're a bit more readily available to me. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Y Market Brewing for the moment. So technically this the full name of this brewery is the Yanagibashi Market Brewing Company, but keep that in mind, and I need to check out that for tags and stuff like that. But as I say, a brewery that's got a good reputation. If you want to learn more about them, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You will need to use Google Chrome to translate that or whatever. You can check out the Facebook and Instagram pages. That will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on, and if you're interested in the different beers that they do have them all listed on the website there, but probably Untappd and Rate Beer are a very good resource for for that as well. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So what I've noticed is that all of the Y Market Brewing beers have this quite distinctive sticker on the front. It is basically just a plain can that's got a sticker on it. And it's got a little bit of Japanese braille on the top as well for the blind people, which is quite cool. But there you can see all of them come with this kind of sticker here that tells you a little bit about the beer. The hops in this one apparently are Mosaic and Chinook, both from America, and it's a session IPA coming in at 4.5% ABV. Incidentally, this is a 350ml can, so a little bit bigger than the ones that you will find in in Europe and things like that. We always work with 330s actually. So yeah, let's get this guy out then and we'll get on with the tasting. A 4.5% session IPA, the hop Seduction from Y Market Brewing in Nagoya in Japan. And when you open this beer up, you really can smell some of these lovely hops actually. I think this beer is going to be really nice. And as I say, this is a brewery I think that really, they do a whole host of different styles, but a lot of people seem to rave particularly about the IPAs and stuff that these guys do. See if I can get the last little bit in. This is going to be like a perfect pour pretty much. I probably should have left a little bit for the aroma, but we'll be alright. That head's going to die away quite quickly. But yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from an IPA, this one has poured a lovely, bright, yellowy colour. There's one or two little bits of sediment in there. I must have had my fridge a little bit cold for this beer, but you can see this one's a lovely, quite bright, hazy yellow. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see it's definitely quite hazy. There's a solid finger and a bit of a frothy, I would say, perfect white head on this one. It's actually maybe a bit more of a bumpy head rather than a frothy head. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it does look pretty nice and pretty much what you would expect from an IPA these days. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. Oh, that smells really nice actually. This one's looking good so far. So straight away you're going to get a lot of tangerine oranges from this one. That's the Mosaic. Lovely big juicy orangey note jumps out at you straight away. There's maybe a little bit of a kind of tropically note in there, like, you know, an apricot-y kind of, like apricots, mangoes. No, not mangoes actually. Yeah, maybe more of a kind of apricot-y, pineapple-y note. There's definitely a little bit of that to this beer too. I'm also getting a little bit of blueberry, which is one of the kind of subtleties that you can get from Mosaic sometimes. So a little bit of blueberry, good bit of a tangerine orange, quite a juicy tangerine orange note coming out of this beer, and also some pineapple-y, apricot things, and sometimes you can get those out of Mosaic actually, which is quite nice. Chinook, on the other hand, that's a big kind of hoppy resinous beast. Usually that'll give you grapefruit and pine resins and stuff, but in fairness with this beer, I'm not getting really any of that, which is quite strange. Because normally with Chinook you get a big powerful piney resin quality in there. This one, to me, in terms of the green side of hops, it really seems a little bit more floral, to be honest. So I'm guessing the Chinook piney resins might come out a little bit more in the in the actual flavour of the beer. But this is one of the things, I mean, when there's this transition being made from New England to, or West Coast rather, to New England, the other way round, the bitterness of beers has really dropped a little bit, and Chinook is it's a hop that you add. It's a very good bittering hop, and you can use it as an aroma hop as well, fair enough, but it adds a hell of a lot of bitterness. You know, these New England type beers are only about 30 IBUs, whereas the West Coast IPAs would be about 60, 70 sometimes. So that's one of the interesting things. I don't think I've had too many New England IPAs that have had Chinook in them. So, and that's maybe one of the things, if it's being dry hopped in, I'm not sure. It would give you a little bit more aroma, right enough. So maybe we'll get a good bit of Chinook in the flavour of this one. It maybe has been used as the bittering hop, and then the Mosaic's been used as the aroma hop. That could be the reason why we're getting most of the Mosaic aromas. And if you have a bittering hop, you add that after about an hour into the brew, whereas the aroma hops are added kind of a little bit later on than that. So yeah, that's kind of interesting actually. I really like the aroma of this. But yeah, a good little bit of grassiness in there, some nice floral aromaticity. The floral aromaticity in this beer is quite pungent, so maybe that is the Chinook kind of pushing its way out of that. I don't remember Mosaic being quite as pungent in its floral character actually. On the malty side of things, I would say yeah, on the malty side of things, it's got a nice, it's really got a nice sort of oaty creaminess to it. There is a good bit of an oaty quality to this one. You can pick up a little bit of a white bready, wheaty kind of character in there as well. And you've also got a little bit of a, how would you say, you've definitely got a little bit of a kind of biscuity sweetness to this one as well. Cookies, as the Americans would say, a little bit of a cookie, biscuity type sweetness to this one. So in terms of its aroma, it comes across really pretty nicely actually, and if it tastes anything like it smells, I think this one will be a really pretty good beer actually, and I've been really impressed with the quality of some of the Japanese beers recently. Uchu Brewing, if you're into IPAs and things like that, that's a brewery that you definitely want to keep an eye on actually. They're very, very good at the moment. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Hop Seduction, a session IPA from Y Market Brewing in, I was going to say Nagano there, Nagoya in Japan. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skull, Kampai. Yeah, that's pretty nice actually. I do like how that goes together. So one thing I'm going to say about Japanese beers generally, the thing you'll always notice with Japanese beers is there's always a bit of an element of drinkability to them. You know, for the Japanese, craft beer is still relatively a new thing. For the Japanese, it's all about, depending on what region you're in, it might be more about shochu, which I've never particularly liked shochu, I have to admit. But in another region, it might be about, you know, the Nihonshu, the Japanese sake, the rice wine, basically. But the thing you'll always notice with the beers, the big beers, it kind of transfers into the craft beers as well. For the Japanese, beer has to be drinkable. It really has to have a bit of sessionability to it. And the comment I've made about quite a few Japanese beers, that they always have, or quite often, they have a really good they've got a lot of good flavour to them, but they're always very light in their mouthfeel. This kind of applies to that as well. And I mean, with a session IPA, you might expect that, but I've noticed that that's a general trend with the Japanese craft beers. Actually, they do like the drinkability of their beers actually. So, yeah, interesting this. But this is a nice beer. This gets a thumbs up from me, and it definitely piques my interest in some of the other Y Market beers. So I will be reviewing more of these when I go back to Japan next time. But yeah, that's really nice. Okay, so in terms of the the malt base line, let's start with that. Straight away with this beer, you can feel a nice pale malty quality, just blank at the middle of your tongue. The further you go into the aftertaste, you can feel some of the slightly thicker, wheaty, white bready qualities. They start to push their way out of the beer a little bit more as well. There's a little bit of oaty creaminess to this one, but it's not too prominent. There's not too much in the way of oaty flavours, I don't think. But the way that malt base goes together is pretty nice actually. The malt base comes out more in the aftertaste than it does in the beginning. In the very centre of your palate too, you definitely get a little bit of a, pardon me, a little bit of a sort of biscuity kind of quality to the beer as well. But mainly the malt base in this one is quite smooth. There's a little bit of kind of almost sweetness from the oats and a little bit of sweetness from the kind of biscuity side of things, but I really like how this malt base goes together. For a session IPA, it is really pretty nice actually. So while I was saying that it's light in the mouthfeel, this beer, you do get a good little bit of a, you do get a really good little bit of flavour in the aftertaste from the malt base actually. And I always think you've got to have a balanced beer, to be honest with you. You've got to have a little bit of malt and a little bit of hops, rather than just blasting it with hops or making it very, very malty. They are, you know, always the same. But yeah, that is a good beer. As I say, thumbs up. Hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, definitely a little bit of earthiness there. That will be coming from the mosaic that's in this beer. As you come further forward, you can feel the earthiness just smoothing its way out a little bit. As you come further forward to the front corners of the palate, you do get a little bit of that piney resin from the Chinook there. You can feel that sort of dark, danky kind of pine resin-y quality to the beer, but it's nowhere near as prominent as you would find in, say, like a West Coast IPA or something like that. It is a little bit more kind of relaxed, if you like, but it just adds a nice kind of dimension to the beer, to be honest with you. But it does become a little bit more floral the further you go into the aftertaste. As you go round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, in my opinion, and I do like how that goes together. So yeah, the green side of the hops is pretty nice, and I would say overall it doesn't particularly lean to any one side. Like, it is quite well balanced between the grassiness and the more floral and piney resin notes. Actually, this is a very, very well balanced session IPA actually, and that's that's what you look for in this beer. You don't expect it to be too heavy in any one regard. So again, thumbs up to Y Market Brewing for this one. In terms of the fruity side of things, then, as I always see, you get that nice oily bubble behind the front curve of your palate, and that's where the juicy fruity esters start to roll their way out of the beer. So if you go towards the back of that oily bubble there, there is a little bit of that darker grapefruity note which will be coming from the Chinook, but as you come further forward, it really pushes more in towards that kind of juicy tangerine orange that you would expect from the Mosaic. There is a few kind of subtleties of like pineapple or something like this. I would say it is mainly more pineapple. I'm not getting so much in the way of apricots like I was from the aroma. Yeah, there is a little bit of a pineapple-y, apricot-y kind of thing there, but in the very centre of the front of your tongue, it's a little bit almost kind of blueberry, like there is a little bit of that kind of blueberry subtlety that you can get from Mosaic as well. So I mean, overall, this is a really nice session IPA. It's one of these ones where it doesn't do anything surprising about the style, but it's just very, very well crafted. And I mean, I've said this in a few videos now, but there's so many New England IPAs and things out there that a lot, you can't really do anything new with this style at this point, other than use some new hops and stuff like this, or brew a different style. And what the whole goal at the moment is just to have beers that are really well crafted, and that's what Y Market have done with this one. So it gets a thumbs up from me. I wouldn't hesitate to drink that beer again. The main question would be whether that's possible, because they seem to be quite prolific and they're always putting new things out there actually. So probably, I'm not sure if I would be able to find this beer again, but if I was, I would certainly drink it actually. I do hope I can go to Nagoya at some point and have a little visit to one of their breweries and things like that. That would be really quite nice actually. I really like that idea. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say that this beer is fairly light bodied. Yeah, carbonation is really, the carbonation is really quite smooth in this one. It's got a nice little bit of wetness in the mouthfeel. It's got a little bit of crispness almost as well actually, and again that's kind of something you expect from the Japanese beers. They like their beers to be light, drinkable and crisp. With the malt base, as I mentioned to you, it starts off and it's not too present, but then the further you go into the aftertaste, the smoothness starts to come out, so you've got a good balance there between smoothness and also a little bit of biscuity quality in there as well. A good little bit of hoppy bitterness to this one. I think we're talking maybe about 30-ish, maybe a little bit more, 35-ish IBUs, something like that, and a good little bit of juicy fruitiness as well. So this beer, it's definitely one of these ones where it's all about how the flavours connect together. When it's marketed as a session IPA, that's what you expect. You don't expect it to be too punchy, you do expect it to be a nice drinkable beer, and that is exactly what it is. But yeah, cool to finally try my first beer from Y Market Brewing. I've been impressed with this one, so let's just leave it at that. A really quite nice beer, this one, and I do hope I can review more from these guys in the future. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for them in Koji's Facebook page. He seems to get quite a few of these in, so I'm sure I'll be able to review a couple more of them for you around Christmas time or something like that. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Y Market Brewing as well. I'm sure I'll return to these guys at some point fairly soon, but definitely cool to pop the cherry and have my first review from these guys. Thank you again for watching. Check out my social media and I'll catch you guys very soon. This one is the Hop Seduction, a really quite nice drinkable session IPA coming in at 4.5% from Y Market Brewing in Nagoya in Japan. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, Skull, Kampai.